Fáilte roiil ríist, cáide íoscrí. Tásúla gom gúil sibh go maith agus gúil sibh ag buint tanamh úntach as an téasúir go dtí seo. Land-borne flies or terrestrials. In my last video, myself and my mate Mick, we had a great day sport fishing terrestrials, and we did a bit of nymph fishing as well. But I want to talk just a little bit about terrestrials, and what I'm going to do then is I'm going to tie the fly that I used on that day, because the response to my last video was massive and a lot of people wanting to know what fly I was using. So land-borne flies, terrestrials, as the name implies, they're not waterborne insects. They get on the water by falling in, basically. Sometimes they get blown onto the water by the wind, and they're sort of victims of circumstance, but the trout really like them. When they switch on to them, they can be some great sport indeed. They're generally distributed in specific areas of the river. You'll find perhaps that there's a particular tree or a particular bush. Now there may be several of these in any given stretch of water, but now that particular bush or that particular tree tends to attract the flies. It's a mating area essentially. They gather oftentimes in huge numbers. They fall onto the water, they get blown onto the water, and the trout are waiting just downstream, and they can gather, also the trout can gather in considerable numbers, and they feed avidly on those flies. So something to be aware of if you're walking along the bank of the river and you see a lot of activity. It'll generally be, particularly this time of the year, late April, early May, it'll generally be some form of terrestrial fly. And the fly, the kind of generic term for them all is hawthorn, but there are a few different flies, and the fly that I tie sort of covers the vast majority, or probably all, of those insects. They're generally small, black, and they have some form of iridescence either in their body or in their wing, and I incorporate that into the tying of the fly. So again, like virtually all the flies that I tie, it's quite a simple fly to tie, and anyone who's reasonably competent fly tying will easily be able to manage it, and again, it's a quick tie as well. So for those of you obviously who are not fly tyers, you could probably tune out at this point, but fly tyers, I've no doubt, would be very interested in this. So here we go. Okay, now this fly I tied on size 16. You'll get away with a 14 if you struggle to tie small, but I find 16 to be the best size. So I've just a light dry fly hook. This happens to be a Fasna, F-A-S-N-A. Not that it makes a whole lot of difference, just a good quality size 16 dry fly hook, and you're ready to go. Okay, this tying thread I'm using is Semperfli Nano Silk in 12/0, so it's quite light and small. We start off as usual, and keep back from the eye here, and the reason for that will be apparent shortly. Okay, and just down along until you reach the bend of the hook. This here, just black hackles. Now this happens to be a genetic neck, so you're going to need quite a small feather to tie this fly. So in this case I'm going to use this one here. Now scissors, just snip it off there. Tie it in, good few turns, good and tight, so it doesn't escape. Just build up just a small bit of bulk on the body, it doesn't have to be massive. Now, you note where the thread is hanging here at the back. So I'm just going to do a palmer. Just move the feather forward. And again, don't go too close to the eye. Just keep back a little bit. Now I'm going to use this thread to reinforce the hackle to make sure that the trout's teeth won't cut it and it'll open. We don't want it to open. We want this fly to last, because it can get quite a beating if things go according to plan. There we are, that's the hackle end of it. Snip off the waist here. Now you will see hawthorn flies tied with gangly legs and usually with a knotted pheasant tail. Now I found them to be completely unnecessary, because the only time you actually see those is when the fly is actually in flight. When the fly is on the water, those legs are folded up underneath and they're not apparent at all, really. Now they're very apparent, of course, when he's flying, because he looks like a kind of a clumsy, gangly sort of insect. But when he's on the water, he's quite slim. And those legs aren't that apparent. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut the hackle on top. Not all the way close to the hook, but sort of, I hope you can see, well, you should be able to see what I'm doing. There we go. And now, to replicate the iridescence that all of these flies have, I'm going to use this here. Don't ask me what the name of it is. Please don't ask me in the comments what the name of it is. Just a pearlescent material, and you can buy that from any fly tying supply shop. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to tie this in here at the front. Now I'm having difficulty tying this because I generally use my magnifier that some of you might be familiar with. What I'm going to do here now is I'm going to spin the thread clockwise, and that will tighten the thread. Anyone who's fly tying a while will know what I'm talking about. I'm having difficulty seeing it here because, like I said, I generally use my magnifier. I'm having trouble tying it in here, but I'll get there eventually, I hope. Just a bit of a clumsy attempt at tying it in, but you can see the idea anyway. I'm hoping I'm not blocking the eye of the hook. Yeah, that's okay. So there's a kind of a clumsy botched attempt at tying in the iridescent wing, but anyway, I got it done. And a wood finish, and just a second knot for security. Cut off the thread. Now let's just cut off just slightly longer than the length of the hook, just like that. And there you go, that's the fly that myself and Mick were using to great effect. I've used it for many years. As you can see, it's very simple, and it definitely works. Now that's my version of the hawthorn fly, or if you like, it's just a general sort of terrestrial representation that works for me and has done for many years. And for those of you who like the technical aspect of things, it's representing, in this case, the hawthorn, which is Bibio marci, land-born fly that you'll see at sort of late April into early May, and some mighty sport can be had on it if you get the right day. Like I said, search particular if you walk the bank of the river and look for big bushes that overhang the river, or trees, but particularly hawthorn bushes. That's the sort of area they like to be. So I know some areas on the river, which you saw in the last video, where there are quite a lot of hawthorn trees and that, and those flies tend to congregate in those areas. And like I said, they fall on the river or are blown onto the river, and the trout seem to lose the run of themselves. They'll compete with each other to try and take these flies, so it makes them relatively easy to catch. So there you go, folks. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'd appreciate it if you clicked the like button. It helps the channel, And if you really want to help my channel out, there's a link in the description to my Patreon page where any little bit of support would be much appreciated. So, shin, that's it today. Got a million back a reach das up for Coloder. Thanks again for your company. I'll see you again next time. Idrangalin, Slonga Fall.